APC, while the second handler is in talks with party leaders. He further revealed that one of Obi's media aides has expressed interest in joining the party. According to Daniel Wala, governors are on their own coming into a party. What about the key managers of specific presidential candidates of the last elections? Take, for example, Peter Obi, one of his handlers, is with us. The second handler is in talks with us. One of his media spokesmen is in talks with us. Why are they joining us? Nobody is giving anybody kobo. That because they realize we are not perfect as a government, but our hearts are right, our head is correct, and we're creating a national consensus. End quote. Meanwhile, Valentine Ozigbo of the All Progressives Congress has faulted the 2023 presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, over the party's leadership crisis. In an interview very recently today, he recently dumped the Labour Party, as you do know, to the ruling All Progressives Congress. He said the party is dying and he will not be part of it. Ozigbo stated that Peter Obi failed to lead the party when he expected him to make moves to resolve the legal battle and leadership crisis rocking the party. Ozigbo denied leaving the Labour Party because Peter Obi did not protect his interests, stressing that his defection to the APC was triggered by the party's lack of proper leadership. The Anambra State politician maintained he has a civilized relationship with Peter Obi, adding that both of them are now focused on different political goals. According to him, Peter Obi is in Labour Party having his competition around coalition, talking about 2027. Valentine Ozigbo is in APC talking about 2025. We have different objectives right now, and that's why I had to take my own path. End quote. You're currently listening to the World News at 6 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. We'll take a very short break. When we return, we'll head into a news analysis segment, and this time around I'm going to be speaking with a colleague who is also a political incentive individual, and that is Jerry Opalahai. Do stay with us. All right, Jerry, how are you?
Yeah, good evening. I'm fine.
Good evening, Jerry Malahai. Welcome to the World News at 6 on VOP 90.3 FM.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. It's not the first time you're here with us. Let's start off with the case of Nnamdi Kanu today in court. Apparently, one of the prosecuting witness, who obviously is a second witness being brought from the prosecuting counsel, said that Nnamdi Kanu admitted, because according to what he said, the first time they interviewed Nnamdi Kanu, or rather when they interrogated him without his legal representative, that Nnamdi Kanu admitted to operating an unlicensed and illegal radio station. And when I saw the report, I thought it was an online, because we have a lot of online radio stations, we have a lot of online broadcasts that do not necessarily have any frequency modulation, which you can consider to be terrestrial. But this witness said that, for example, this DSS official who was behind a green screen, he explained that Kanu acknowledged his involvement in operating Radio Biafra, which broadcast on frequencies 102.1 FM and 88.0 FM without the necessary license from the National Broadcasting Commission, and that Kanu admitted that the voice in the broadcast, which included calls for attacks on police officers, were indeed his own. And then they also asked Nnamdi Kanu if indeed he made public broadcasts, or rather they asked the prosecuting witness if he made public broadcasts making statements that persons should go burn down certain persons' buildings and properties. I don't know if you recall, that was when we had the COVID-19 situation, when some palliatives were discovered. I'm sure you heard some voice notes that went viral, and there were some instructions being given. But my question is this: is it possible to have is it coming in for inspection? Because the modus here is, once you get your license, before you start even doing a test broadcast, the NBC must come into that radio station. They will inspect the facility, they will check your equipment, your transmitter. If you must have two power generators, like standby generators, two of them, they must ensure that you have everything up to par according to standard. So is it possible to operate a radio station without the oversight functions of the NBC in Nigeria?
Yeah, it's very, very possible.
It's very possible?
Yeah, because now there are a lot of gadgets that have been developed over time.
We're speaking of way back in 2015, when they first confiscated all the equipment they had.
It's just that Nigeria is still far behind. in terms of technological advancement. In various parts of the world, like we know, are aware of, there are a lot of gadgets you could actually use to transmit. See, was up. I think I was even hearing a lot of people. You could hear some people from their phones who were really interested, listening to a frequency, and you will ask yourself, how did they get in contact? How did they get the information that there's a frequency like this? So it now boils down to the interest of the people who really want to hear and feed off that message. And what is now left for the NBC and the regulatory bodies to do is to monitor and find out where this frequency is coming from.
But don't you think this indicts the NBC? That a radio station was operating, according to them, unregistered, illegal, unlicensed, and according to what the DSS operative was saying, that he was making incisive and spewing comments that could divide the unity of Nigeria, and then obviously asking for the 5 southeastern states, including Kogi and Benue, to no longer be part of Nigeria, working towards it, and then calling for persons' properties to be burnt and whatnot. So it took them so long to know they're visiting that radio station. In fact, they need to monitor your signal bandwidth so that you don't clash signals or frequency with other radio stations. Sometimes you see some locations that some radio stations are clashing, and there's a limit that your signal is giving. You don't surpass a certain angle or region or location based on what you paid for. I don't know if you get my drift.
Yeah.
So with all of this, the NBC records. In fact, right here in the studio, sometimes when our callers make some statements that is why we tell our callers, be careful with what you say. When they make some inciting statements and the presenter or the anchor does not caution them, NBC has the recording, has the details, has the list. They will write a letter to the radio station, and you could be sanctioned.
The thing is that in as much as the modalities for NBC to track what is happening in terms of what goes on through the air,
okay,
there will still be some miscreants who will surely find. I think the regulation of that is quite minimal, and it's really, really sad that we even see kidnappers and bandits even broadcasting the money they get from ransom and so on and so forth. Until today, they're still doing it and getting away with it. It's pretty sad.
Meanwhile, his sister-in-law today was asked to walk out of the court because she was streaming the live session on her social media platform. According to her, she said she did not know that the judge was still sitting. But, she pleaded and asked that please she be forgiven, that she did not know that she wasn't supposed to do that. If you notice, most of the contents of the trial, we've been reading it based on correspondents who were there to cover the trial.
That is the procedure for
That's the
such
procedure.
a big
Exactly.
case.
They don't want any media interference or media trial, and in that regard, basically they had to ban her from coming in subsequently for other trial proceedings of her brother-in-law. Now let's look at the chaos that erupted today in the house between lawmakers in the House of Reps, and that's because of the consistent spate of insecurity that has been going on. Today is warning that if urgent steps are not taken, Nigerians may turn on their elected representatives. This person mentioned that according to him, he says that the governor is raising okay, so this is what they said. Somebody responded to their cries by saying, when the governor is crying and somebody within the comfort of his own says the governor is raising an unnecessary alarm, that they are rascals, meanwhile Nigerians are being killed, that this is unacceptable. This person is Gagdi. He mentioned that his constituency, which includes Chibok, he gave a chilling update that 10 peasant farmers were slaughtered in Poka, 14 in Chibok, even military officers in Izge and Kampo and Wajiboko. Boko Haram used weaponized drones. Do you understand the sophistication within the ambit of these terrorists, the kind of weapons that they have? Weaponized drones. Our military do not have weaponized drones to check where these guys camp and clear
funds that is meant for them to buy weapons and get the necessary allowances.
Okay.
You're already endangering the lives they're supposed to protect from foreign and non-state actors.
True.
Because I recently saw a video we saw about 1,000 number of bandits. They were sending messages that they are prepared to attack Nigeria. So
imagine
there's a new reinforcement going on from these non-state actors.
You can imagine. To
attack Nigeria. So the question is, why now? And what is the situation like when it comes to the president and the security apparatus? What are they even doing? It's like business as usual.
The
Nobody.
last time I heard the president was in a security meeting, a closed door meeting with security operatives. I thought that he was in this meeting with these guys because of the insecurity in the country, but it was because of River State. It was after the emergence of that closed door meeting with the security chiefs that we heard a state of emergency. He did a live broadcast immediately after the meeting where he declared a state of emergency in Rivers. Immediately he heard of that pipeline explosion. He called on the chief of staff, chief of army staff, chief of naval staff, DSS, then in that closed door meeting. And that evening he did a live broadcast where he called for a state of emergency in Rivers. At this point, hasn't it gotten for him to have a closed door session with the chief of staff to all the security agencies and ask them what is going on? We give you, we budget money to you, we give you allocation. We've been hearing issues of Benue State is literally going through what you call an existential crisis. They just want to survive. It seems like there is an agenda to completely clear them out and possibly resettle with foreign elements.
Attempted genocide.
You can imagine that. You can imagine that. And it is gradually encroaching even up to the southwest here. If people think that they are safe or they feel that their anomaly is not heavy here, so possibly it's not their business. For this chaotic incident at the House of Reps today, it tells you that even some of these representatives are APC representatives. They are not PDP or whatever. And there was a shouting bout amongst themselves. So how will the government react to this? Would they say it's a lie? Would they say they're just exaggerating like they normally do when you call out what the reality is?
Yeah, that's what you get when, for instance, any dissenting voice is taken as somebody who wants to rant and score political points. You know, people's lives are now being taken for which one is more important than the other. And Tinubu should not forget that in 2015, what was really the major story was the Chibok girls that were kidnapped.
Exactly.
And insecurity was a major issue. How should you have to wait for something as big as Chibok for you to get media traction? Then we'll not take Boko Haram serious. Because each time the military come and tell us they've annihilated a large amount of terrorists, it looks like the terrorists, the moment you kill 10, 200 pops up 2 months or 2 weeks later. Zamfara is being terrorized. Let's ask America how they fought the Al Qaeda, how they fought. I think Syria was witnessing something like this, and how they were able to at least quench this bandits and so-called terrorists. But all of a sudden, the thing is that when I think the body language of the government has continued to encourage Boko Haram and other terrorists, because when they see that the government play politics with the whole thing. Some other bandits will wake up tomorrow, because now we're dealing with Boko Haram. What if tomorrow the Niger Delta militants pops up? Now we're also dealing with unknown gunmen.
The way the strictness right now from that region can't be like before
because
again.
When you encourage one in terms of the way you act or react, it will also encourage others to pop up.